Is it possible Scott Peterson is innocent? Y'all, that's what some people are saying. And I even just saw that the LA Innocence Project has taken up his case. What? Y'all, this is crazy. You guys ready for this one? Make sure you subscribe if you like true crime. Hit that like button down there, and let's immediately jump into this. Listen to this.
The Los Angeles Innocence Project is jumping into the case for the convicted double murderer. They filed several motions asking the court for permission to test several items, saying in part, quote, evidence has been discovered that points to Mr. Peterson's innocence.
Innocent?
What?
What are they talking about? He, of course, was convicted back in 2004 for the death of his wife, Lacey, their unborn son, Connor, in Modesto, California. The main evidence that led to his conviction included a couple things, mainly the fact that the bodies of both Lacey and Connor turned up in San Francisco Bay, and that, of course, is where Scott Peterson was.
He went fishing.
There, fishing in his new boat the day of Lacey's disappearance.
And plus, the thing that really stands out about this case were the bizarre interactions Peterson had with investigators and his mistress, Amber Fry. She helped the investigation by secretly recording Peterson while his pregnant wife was missing. Those recordings were played in court, and Ted, you were there, front and center inside of that courtroom during this trial.
And those recordings were a game changer. They shifted the entire trial. He was, it looked very good for him until that point, even with the fact that the bodies were found in the bay, because it was announced, his alibi was announced within 24 hours of Lacey going missing. So the theory from the defense has always been someone else did this. There was a robbery across the street. Those robbers took her, dumped her in the bay once they found out where Scott was. But Amber in that courtroom killed it for him, because those recordings were of a lying, horrible man that had a beautiful pregnant wife at home. And a couple of the things he said at one point in one of those recordings, he said, "This is going to be my first Christmas without my wife. She's gone." This was 2 days, a week before she went missing. It was part of it. The question now is, so the LA Innocence Project, what do they have in their filings? And I've read through them. They reference this new evidence. Well, they're also asking the court to test some old evidence. A van that was found on Christmas Day, the day after Lacey went missing at the Modesto airport. I remember at the time, that was a piece of like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Poo-pooed by prosecutors. They want to test some materials found that washed up with Lacey's body in the San Francisco Bay, specifically this bag, as they call it, a Target bag, not Target, the store that we're used to going to. It's a shipping company that has plastic, and some duct tape around it. So why are they targeting this? I talked to the attorney that's been representing Scott for many years, and yesterday, back and forth. He says they have been totally briefed, and they're looking at specific items that they're zeroing in on, and it's going to be fascinating.
This is willy-nilly. This is serious.
The Peterson family and Scott has been maintaining his innocence for years, and we've heard this time and time again, the robbery across the street. Well, one thing that did happen after, I don't know if you remember on Court TV here, when they had the big jury inquisition. There was
strawberry shortcake?
Yeah, strawberry shortcake. They brought her into San Mateo County to question her about the process. Well, he lost that, right? The judge ended up ruling against him. But it was in the news every single day in the Bay Area. And someone contacted Scott Peterson's sister, Janie, after this was in the news, and said, hey, I have this information, new information. Could it be related to that, I wonder?
Wow, that could be a game changer. It's a story that so many people know. It's iconic when it comes to murder trials. Let's bring in our guest to discuss this in California. Our guest who's been standing by this hour, Joseph Tully, good to see you. Tell me your reaction to the LA Innocence Project taking up this case.
It's very, very surprising. I would say borderline shocking, but being a defense attorney, it would take more to shock me. But it's extremely surprising. As you pointed out, the Innocence Project doesn't just take anything. There had to be something very real, very concrete to get them interested in this case.
What I was referring to,
maybe even the notoriety. Dear Lord.
With this new evidence, we know that someone contacted Janie Peterson, and the story is, hey, I was in this room where this guy was talking about being one of the robbers and saying that, yeah, Lacey interrupted the robbery at the Medina house across the street, and we killed her because we had to shut her up. 3 people were interviewed by the defense team and an investigator. They signed affidavits, and Scott actually filed it because he's lost his representation. Now he's not on death row. He filed it in his own writing from his cell. But part of the equation was they couldn't find the actual person who these people were talking about, right? So you had these declarations, but where's the guy that was talking about it? Could it be, Joseph? Maybe the Innocence Project found the guy. He gave them a version of what's going on, and that's why they're targeting their requests in terms of DNA testing. If he said, yeah, we had that van, we wrapped her in that plastic, well, that might make sense.
Sure, yeah, we do know from their filings the Innocence Project is citing to the burn ban. They want DNA testing. They wanted witnesses who saw Lacey walking her dog that morning. And they're citing to things related along those lines. So what I've seen,
I don't know, that whole walking the dog thing, there was like 11 people or something like that. The only problem is if they have, and we talked about this on the live stream over on TikTok, is that if you have 11 people, all of their stories better match up perfectly, or none of them match up. You know what I mean? And a bunch of people said, oh, we saw her in this outfit. We saw her in this outfit. Because that's what was on the missing poster. And then when she was found, she was in a completely different outfit. So that's one of those things. It has to be all of those witnesses have to say the exact same time. Everything has to be perfect.
Exactly supports what you're saying.
Yeah, there were several witnesses that did not make it to the witness stand at trial who reported seeing Lacey walking the dog.
And the defense attorney, there's a reason why.
During that morning. And if any one of those people was correct, then Scott's innocent, just because of the timeline and the way things worked. The defense didn't bring them on, so it's interesting the Innocence Project also wants to look at that. To me, they're asking for old evidence to analyze it, but they keep referencing new evidence in their motion. So
do you think it could be a new angle on that evidence or a new look? But that could be the witness that you're mentioning.
It has to do with this robbery, or at least a van, an abduction, and it sounds like they've got an identity and they want to connect it with some DNA.
And Joe Zitelli, I just want to ask you the follow-up on this, that even if there is this new evidence, I mean, we see appeals, so we see defense attorneys finding things that went wrong in the first trial, things that went wrong in the investigation, they file that in appeal. But when the Innocence Project takes something, they have to take into consideration the optics. They have to take into consideration what it would mean to help someone who has a very bad reputation when it comes to those who remember this case, remember just seeing that smiling photo of Lacey and thinking about Connor. Is that even more so the likelihood that there may be actually something to this possibility of his innocence?
Sure. Yes, I think that while there wasn't any direct evidence, or barely any direct evidence linking Scott Peterson to the murder, there was very strong circumstantial evidence.
Incredibly strong. So much so he got convicted. Oh, man, what do y'all think about this? Leave a comment. Let me know. Let's keep going.
I remember, to me,
is he innocent or is he guilty?
The time when the news was coming out, finding like cement powder in the boat, the same boat that he went fishing.
And they said he bought 90 pounds of concrete. He made one 8-pound anchor, so there should be like 82 pounds of concrete or something like that. And they said, oh, it's on the side of his house. And there was like little pieces. Oh, man.
in around the time of the disappearance. That was strong circumstantial evidence to me. But I also think that, it's not enough for the Innocence Project to say, hey, there's new evidence. They have to say there's new evidence that's tied to an actual defense of innocence. So they can't say, hey, here's evidence that might have raised a reasonable doubt. They have to say, here's evidence that supports actual innocence of Scott Peterson, and have an uphill battle going forward in the appellate court system on that.
Wow. Yeah, and that's the key, right? Is that at this point, he's exhausted a lot of his appeals already. He's off of death row, so he doesn't have Cliff Gardner working for him anymore, who's a fantastic appellate attorney in the Bay Area. He's in this position where the Innocence Project is fantastic, and Pat Harris talked to me yesterday and said, this is great. We couldn't be happier to have them fighting this battle. Joseph, you mentioned the cement. He made anchors, and he admitted that he made these anchors. The state opined that he used them to weigh down Lacey's body because that's the only reason that how he could do it. They were trying to figure out how he pulled it off. The cement residue, he had an anchor there, and he used them, and he made them, and he admitted that. All of the, if you deep dive this, and this, I've done it for years. Here's the problem with this case. It's always bugged me, is that you see him, you hear him, then you get the details of what he did with Amber and all these lies, and you think, oh my God, he did it for sure. I said that many times, he did it for sure. Then you sit through the trial, you go through the evidence, and you're like, wow. You would think that X, Y, and Z there would have been blood in the house, there would have been something. There just isn't. It's not 100% for me. And I know a lot of people make fun of me and say that I'm a dumbass for not thinking that he's guilty, but.
A what? Oh, man.
I've always had this weird sense of there's like a 5% chance the guy didn't do it. And now the Innocence Project is involved. I say stay tuned, Joseph Tully.
Something's coming.
Man. That is a crazy case. Y'all tell me what you think. Y'all tell me what you think. Did the media and just did the court of public opinion say he was guilty way before any evidence did? I don't know. Y'all make sure you subscribe, leave a like on the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.